Welcome again to another demonstration of a new product released on the underscores label. This one is in the series of open source tools for video installation work, and again it's another purely software application that we're releasing. This is the ArtNet LED mapper, an open source cross-platform application for creating addressable LED installations. This is a companion project to our hardware lateral LED controller, which is the hardware part of setting up these addressable LED installations. And there's another video already where we walk through the hardware and how we configure this and how we set it up. So this is the other side of that. This is how do we set up the software side so that we can send ArtNet to our LED controller. Here's like an example of the kind of effect. This is from a club night or like a collective lateral movement which puts on club nights, and this is where we first got the idea of making addressable LED installations. It's just a short GIF showing one of them. You can find out more about that whole process and how we got there in the build and stuff in this work in progress for Artist Talk, which I did. Here we are on this side, the computer which is running ArtNet LED Mapper, our mapping software. This outputs the ArtNet, which is a DMX over network protocol for controlling lights. This is sent to the controller, which we talk about in the other video, and this is connected to the addressable LED strip. So we should be able to see now my very janky practice LED strip installation. So what you're looking at here is 8 LED strips, each with 20 LEDs on them, and they're laid out in kind of a roughly in a grid. So this is a very low resolution kind of LED wall, I guess, which is one way that you can use this application. Although if you've seen the kind of examples from our club nights, we've kind of used more abstract configurations than this, but just as an example, this is how I've set it up for this practice. And yeah, these LED strips were left over from our installation build because we found that the LEDs were a bit too far apart from each other. So these are 30 LEDs per meter. We ended up going for 60 per meter, which when you use a diffuser gives a pretty smooth kind of change in color and brightness as across the LEDs. You can see here in the top left corner the lateral LED controller. So it's got a Ethernet cable, a Cat5 cable that's coming from the computer, and it's plugged into the Ethernet in port on the controller, and then the each of the LED strips is getting power, which is coming from a wall plug, as well as data line is coming out of the controller into the strips. Now this is pretty messy. There's tape everywhere, and the LED strips power is just soldered with wire to each other. It's all pretty hectic, which is not ideal for a proper installation. If you go to the controller video, I talk a little bit about some options for the types of connectors and plugs and wires that you can use to make this a bit more tidy. In terms of the ArtNet LED Mapper software, number of strips is just the number of straight lines there are in the installation. So this does not care about which data lines are connected to the controller. That's not relevant at all, and that can be completely different. That's between you and the controller. Technical setup. This is just talking about the geometry of the installation that we're using. So in this case, our installation has got 8 straight lines, each one with 20 LEDs. So we'll make 8 straight lines, and then down here we can set number of LEDs. So here I can say 20, and then go through here, each of these like this, and make them all 20, so on. You'll see here on the map test, you can click on this blue circle, which is the kind of end of the strip, and when you click on it, it gets selected, so it goes red, and now we can drag it around. Holding down shift and dragging it will rotate the strip around. Anything that you can make with an arbitrary number of straight lines and rotations, you can do with this. What I want to set is the LED spacing. So this is a type of LED strip. I mentioned that we're using 30 per meter, so that's what we've got. The target IP, this is something which is set on the controller, so you'll need to make a note of what the IP of your controller is, and I'm just going to paste that in here because I already have it here. And then when you change the IP, you need to click this button here to update. So it turns red when there's a change, and then when you click it, it updates it. We just want to measure the size of our installation. So I've got a tape measure here. I'm just going to measure it across from the top one. It's about 640 millimeters across. So I'm going to put that in just a little bit over that. Let's go 680. Let's measure the height of the installation as well. So from the bottom to the top, it's about 340 millimeters. Let's put that in. I'm going to do a little bit more though. Let's say 380. So that means that it's going to stretch whatever's passed in to fit across this canvas. If you wanted it to not be stretched, then you could then you set the width and the height the same. Now all we really need to do is position the strips. So as you can see, the strips are currently outside of the canvas, so you can't see them there. But if you go to this first strip and we say make its position 0, 0, now you'll see that it's come up here. And yeah, you can move them around with the arrows. The grid currently is 100, but if we make the grid size a little bit smaller, let's say 5, then you can see it a bit easier. The reason why I made the canvas a little bit larger than our strip size, because I wanted to be able to see on here the actual numbers as well, just to keep track of what's happening where, to have a little bit of space between the edge. But yeah, you could go right to the edge and you just wouldn't be able to see it quite so clear. It'd be about 30 millimeters between each row. So we can calculate where each one should be. So this one, so strip 1 is at 25, 25, and then strip 2 would be still 25 on the X, but on the Y it will be 25 plus 30, so 55. And then we do the same for the next one. So 25 and then 55 plus 30 would be 85, and so on for each of the strips. Let's do that now. So number 8 has been rotated slightly. We can set the angle as well here. So angle should be 0 because they're going horizontal. And we might want to actually change the height of the canvas a little bit so that we don't have any cut off the bottom. So let's try and make that 50, 40, 20. Yeah, that looks okay. It might have been stretched a little bit. 25 there, but yeah, that will do. So that's kind of created the grid, the grid of all of the LEDs in position. So the best way to test that this is working is to put some kind of video feed through it. Now what I'm going to be using to put video through it is Hydra live coding environment. So here's, for example, just like a pattern of some scrolling bars, and we're going to pipe this through OBS, which is capturing that that window. I'll make it full screen. Is going to output NDI. So NDI is a network protocol for sending video, and our ArtNet Mapper program can receive NDI. So we might just need to click refresh inputs so that it can search for all of the inputs that are available. And once it does that, when you click down the video source drop down, you should see NDI, and this is coming from OBS. There it is. So I click on that, and now we're getting that feed to the program. So yeah, that's a pretty cool chain of video. It's starting Hydra in the browser. It's being captured by OBS through a screen capture. OBS is sending it out over NDI. ArtNet's LED mapper is capturing NDI, converting it to ArtNet, sending it to the controller. The controller is converting it to the LED protocol and sending it to the wall. More. Yeah, I think it actually looks best with less on the oscillators. Maybe just like a slow gradient looks quite good. Yeah, I wish that my camera could I zoom out a little bit. Yeah, let's go back to our ArtNet program. If we put the brightness down even further, maybe we'll see it'll look a bit better. It's hard to say. Yeah, it really doesn't capture it so well on the camera, but hopefully you get the idea. Anyway, that's a simple demonstration of the ArtNet LED mapper. In conjunction with the lateral LED controller, we can make these kind of addressable LED installations. So yeah, this will also be available at underscores.shop for a sliding scale donation between 10 and 100 euros to download compiled version of this app. Or of course you can compile it yourself from source, which is open and available on the GitHub for free. So yeah, there's plenty of options, and I hope that these tools in this series has maybe inspired some other people to explore some alternative ways of working with light and video in installation setups.